This debate reminds me a little bit of the Health and Human Services when we're talking about abortion. That basically this will have to be worked out in the courts. I'm not. If it does become law, then it's most likely unconstitutional. If you remember, in Health and Human Services, we talked about the U.S. Supreme Court, Texas, they shut down half the abortion clinics, and they had to prove why. They had to state a compelling interest. They had to provide evidence that if you didn't license abortion clinics as surgical centers, or you didn't require physicians to have admitting privileges, that was going to result in harm to women. And so the court said, okay, prove it, and there was no proof. So it wasn't, the risk didn't outweigh the burden, and it was unconstitutional. And so the same thing with, if the only reason is that you're going to, you're bringing forward this bill is that you think that an increased penalty will be an effective deterrence, I don't think you understand. Again, it's about history and putting things in historical context. And something about the risks that people have taken, whether it is the minors or the LGBT or farmers or of color or Black Americans or American Indians, having a threat of, instead of 90 days, now a year, that's not going to be a deterrence. Think about the lynching in the South and the Jim Crow laws and the marching across Selma. People will risk their lives to bring about change, to fight for civil rights. And the American Indian movement taking over Wounded Knee. People are still in prison. Most of them have died now, but we still have some that got life in prison for protest. But they brought about changes that under Nixon, the Self-Determination Act. That was a result of AIM and Wounded Knee. People died there. There was violence. And you think about, I have 2 grandsons. My son is 34 now. And we lived here, and we have to train when I can sort of pass for white once in a while as I got older. I mostly can pass for Korean now, but my son can't, and my grandsons. My son's 34, my grandsons are 15 and 12. And so that concern, if something had happened to my grandsons, I would be out on the street, or my son, and I would be risking a year in jail. I don't care if I lost my law license, or to me, that would be enough. If I felt that it was enough, not one more person should die, not one more young man, then I would risk it. So this has nothing to do with, it's just the same in that abortion case, what the egregious clinic that you bring up. Regulating, increasing penalties does not stop criminal behavior. If somebody assaults a police officer, they are going to jail. But that is the essence of it. I woke up this morning and angry, and you had the protests there, and you saw how people were angry, and it's sort of out of place. Well, it is the difference again between privilege and growing up experiencing discrimination, racism. Now that I am a little bit privileged, I have a car and a job, and so I have to go across the freeway every night to go home. Well, what do? I think about every protest on 94 I've known about in advance. And why? Because I read things, I read more. I think if you only listen to Fox News, you're probably not going to know that there's a protest on 94. And then now we have the great highway signs that say freeway, 7 p.m. is going to be shut down due to protest. There are ways. But again, I understand that there are fears about and about being inconvenienced. And there may be public safety concerns, but again, you're going to have to prove it in court because there has to be a compelling interest to infringe on someone's First Amendment rights. And I will tell you one other thing about that anger, about that where that comes from. I'll give you 2 examples. And when we talk about my partner this morning who's white, she says, be nice today, be nice. Because my initial reaction when you're talking about it, that those are white people's problems. But when I was growing up, I came in Northfield, I was about 11, and there was one other black family that lived in town, and we were walking home from the movie one night, and these guys in the truck came by. We were walking on the sidewalk, threw a bottle at us and said, such and such, using the N-word, go home or get out of here or whatever. And my friend, she practically jumped 2 feet in the air screaming. And then I'll tell you another, and so this is something that you get this anger from being marginalized, being discriminated, being second class. And then when I was young, I had high fever, seizures, and I was also always falling off my bike or whatever, bleeding. Anyway, so we go to the hospital. My father, because of his job, he had health insurance. We usually lived in urban areas near a reservation, Indian health service. Well, we would walk in the door, either I'd be bleeding or I'd have 105 fever, seizure, and the nurse would tell my parents, we can't serve you. You have to go down, whether it's 20 miles, 100 miles. We will not serve you. You have to go to the Indian Health Clinic. And so my dad says, well, we have insurance. And so it would have to practically be a media event, a protest to get service in a white hospital. Now, do you understand? I mean, that is something, and that's the thing about, that, do I just not explain that anymore? Because it doesn't really, it's not my job for you to understand, to help you understand that. And that's why I always think, I think I'll just go back to the reservation. Because on the reservation, we have the right to make our own laws and be governed by them. We still have sovereignty. So, but anyway, that is that frustration, that anger that you see, and that pushes back against this. That's just a little bit of it.